Welcome to San Joaquin Spotlight, a public affairs program featuring conversations about life in the central San Joaquin Valley. This program is brought to you in partnership between KFSR 90.7 FM and CMAC Fresno. I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. The studio is buzzing with activity today. Volunteers are making this production possible, and we also have Craig Scharton back in the studio. Craig, welcome to the program.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for asking me back.
I love when you're back because every time you're back, you give us some exciting news from downtown and the Fulton Mall. So before we get there, how's it going?
It's going great. You know, the council had their vote about opening the Fulton Mall to traffic. It ended up passing 5-2. And I tell you, the whole sense downtown changed that night.
What do you mean opening it up to traffic? I mean, I know the headline said Fulton Mall to open, cars to drive down Fulton Mall. Take a step back and kind of analyze that.
Yeah, so it'll be 2 lanes of traffic, 1 in each direction. It used to be 4 lanes, so it's a very narrow street. It'll have extremely wide sidewalks, wider than anywhere anyone has seen in California at least. They'll start construction in March of 2015, and it'll take 14 to 18 months before it opens. And then that weekend that it opens, we're going to have the biggest, greatest party the San Joaquin Valley's ever seen. We'll have bands, and we'll have floats, and we'll have a cruise night for pre-1964 cars celebrating before when you could cruise Fulton Street, and now you can cruise it again. So it's just going to be a blast. And once that happens, there'll be no looking back.
That's over a year away, but it sounds like already there's excitement and planning going on. Why do you think that's so?
Well, you know, the mall was such a stalled topic for so long. You know, there was always talk about doing it, not doing it, but no one ever moved on it. The city had never done the environmental work before. We'd never gotten the money before. And so now that the vote happened, it's just like a big relief valve. And we're getting calls. I back-to-back investors last Friday. New businesses are going in. There's a new burger place going in right across from my restaurant. Just had the owner of the JCPenney who's finalizing some financing. So they're all just kind of waiting to see what happened. And the council made the right vote, and we're already seeing the benefits of it.
We've talked about, last time you were here, why it's important to open the Fulton Mall. What's the other side? I mean, you know, giving the other side a fair opportunity, what are the concerns with opening it?
Well, you know, people love the ideal of banishing the car. It feels like we won one. And the ideal is really strong. It hasn't panned out in other cities. But the other thing is Fresno actually did our mall with more care. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a sensitivity that goes along with that, there was more design, that the community got together and purchased art for an incredible public art display. So I think that's where a lot of the support and emotion for saving the mall comes from. But the good news is that all the art is saved. We end up with more trees than we currently have. There's money for restoration for the art and the fountains that if we didn't do this wouldn't exist. So I think people are going to find once they see the final design and once it's open, you know, their fears, you know, they always use words like ripping out the mall and tearing out the mall. I think what people are going to find is a beautiful pedestrian space, room for outdoor dining, but also room for cars to be able to drive by and park in front of a shop or a restaurant.
Is there room? I mean, I walk down the mall all the time, and it is a big mall.
It's huge.
Is there room? Some people may say 2 cars driving in opposite direction and cars parking. There's no room for that.
Well, there used to be 4 lanes of traffic, and now we'll only have 2. So more than half of the space will be available for sidewalk. There'll be more sidewalk than there will be street for traffic and for parking.
Do you think people know all the details? I mean, I know it's easy to get emotionally charged about this issue, whether you're for it or against it, but do you really think that the average everyday person knows the details about this?
I don't think so. I mean, the thing that we really started proposing about a year or two ago is bringing in information from other cities. So when you hear that there were 189 pedestrian malls and 175 have been taken out, then
There's
you
an
start
issue
going,
there.
oh, that's interesting. You know, there's 89% of them have been removed, not because they worked too well, because they didn't work at all. So we also know that the average time to revitalization after you bring traffic back is only 4 years. And that's the average. Some are even faster than that.
You know, a lot of people will say the city is too focused on the Fulton Mall and downtown. In your opinion, why is that a good thing to be focused on downtown and the mall?
Well, you know, it's funny because no one in Visalia would ever say we shouldn't revitalize downtown because it already works, right? No one in Clovis would say that. No one in Pasadena would say that. So, you know, it's hard for people to imagine what a successful downtown is like and what it will do for our overall region. But if you look at what's happened around the country to cities that have revitalized their downtown, it's crystal clear. People feel better about their city. Young people are more likely to stay or to come back if you have the amenities of an urban lifestyle. Even in the outlying cities, you know, the best of both worlds is to live in a city like Reedley and have a really great small town rural Americana life. But when your anniversary comes up and you want to take your wife to a really cool restaurant and go out dancing or whatever, you know, that's an important factor too. And then the next day you're back at, you know, back in your quiet, you know, peaceful community. And that's really when downtown functioned well. That's really what it gave us. We had an urban center surrounded by these wonderful, rural, you know, peaceful communities.
There's a lot more people living in downtown than there was even last year or 2 years ago.
Right.
How is that going to help the movement to revitalize downtown?
Well, it helps in a lot of ways. One, I'm an economist that I know, Don Ripkema, if you want to look him up, did a study and found that an average downtown resident was 8 times more valuable in an economic sense than a downtown office worker.
Interesting.
So you could actually quantify how much more someone who lives downtown will spend in the area. And so it also helps when you're making revitalization decisions to say, if we have a limited resource, should we invest in residents or office workers? And we know that residents are much more valuable that way. But we also know that they're going to be walking around more. They're going to be walking their dog at night, going for a jog in the morning. So they also give a lot more visibility and a lot more eyes on the street to downtown as well. So it just adds to the overall, you know, vibrant nature of downtown.
Looking in the future, next year, are we going to see more housing in downtown?
Yeah, there are some projects that are just breaking ground right now. The Asimis are doing another project over on Broadway, and Broadway's being rebuilt. It should be a beautiful street, and after that they're going to work on the Met Museum block. So just right around here will be the next project, but the JCPenney building already has their building permit for 3 stories of lofts.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the Housing Authority, if you go by Van Ness and Inyo, just right across from where the Spiral parking garage is, they're building a 5-story building that is something that we haven't seen before. It's called workforce housing.
Interesting.
So you have to be employed, make between $20,000 and $35,000 a year. Only 2 people per unit are allowed, so you don't get big families and all of that. And it's really for like the people who, you know, are just starting their careers, but they want to still live downtown. Maybe they can't pay what the fancy lofts are, you know, charging. So it gives them an entry place into downtown as well. So I imagine that's going to be full the day it's open.
And you have kind of a new role, or it's an old role? It's a role that you've had for years, by the way. Yeah. But you're involved in the downtown partnership somehow. How?
Well, the CEO, Kate Borders, fantastic human being, did a great job. She got lured away by one of the most successful property owners associations, or PBIDs as they're called, in the country, Tempe, Arizona. And so really, it's hard to believe, but there's a conference or a convention for everything. If you go to a PBID convention, Tempe, Arizona is like a rock star. They've done some really incredible things. Their budget's 9 times bigger than here.
Wow.
Their staff is probably 15 times bigger than here. So even though it's a much smaller community, it's a much more progressive, developed, mature, successful program. So the board asked me to be the interim CEO. So I have one office at the south end of the mall and the restaurant on the north end of the mall. And like today, I was riding back and forth. So I have a bike that I use. It's a lot faster to get from one to the other.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you. It's fun. I love it.
We talked earlier about investors calling you and moving in or doing things now on the mall. The burger place going in across the street. Some people may look at that as competition, and some people may say that may lure people in. What's your opinion?
Well, I mean, the goal is to become, an entertainment / dining district. I mean, I'd love to have 60 to 100 places along that half-mile stretch of the mall that were, fun restaurants, coffee shops. Like we just had Little Bean open up in the Helm building. They're doing crepes and doing really great coffee. That's welcome to us. We want people, the magic words are when someone says, let's go downtown tonight, and someone says, where do you want to meet? And the other person says, I don't know, let's walk around until we find the one that really sounds delicious. That's when you have a dining district, and that's what we want.
Peeves, when you were on last, you had just opened, things were good, you were busy. How are things going at Peeves?
They're going very well. It's amazing. It's so much different. I love having people come in and they assume just because it's downtown, well, so you're busy at lunch. And I say, yeah, we're busy at lunch, but we're twice as busy at dinner. And they can't believe that people would come down at night for dinner, and we're packed at night for dinner. We do a lot of events, and so we had 50 rental chairs we were setting up when I left right now because we have a science lecture the first Monday of the month. So we'll have 80 people in there listening to a science lecture on the very night that the basketball championship is happening.
Interesting. And are you okay with that? I mean, sometimes people will go and just have a cup of coffee, they'll have a soft drink. I mean, they won't eat, but they'll be there for a half hour, they'll socialize and they'll have a cup of coffee or something like that. Are you okay with that? Some business owners may not be.
Yeah, we're really, a lot of what we're about is creating community. So if people want to come in, I mean, we've had everything from, birthday parties where we let you pick the movie or the band, and we'll even let you pick out a keg of beer that is your favorite. Or we had a memorial service just recently where we lost a member of our community, and everything in between. So you never know what you're going to walk into. It could be a comedy night, it could be live music, it could be guest chef night. I mean, you kind of have to be adventurous to come in and just roll with whatever it is that we're doing.
When people are coming for events and stuff like that, are you okay with them coming and having appetizers, or are you expecting that, when I have an hour event at your place, we're all going to eat dinner?
Oh, we don't have any rules for any of that. We're just happy if you come in. We're going to sell some iced tea or some beer, or we just got our wine license, by the way. So, I'd rather not write a bunch of rules for stuff that's really not a problem, or just because it's a problem once. Maybe that's because I was in government for 4.5 years before this. I just don't want to create a bunch of processes. So when someone comes in with an idea, we try to say yes, and we figure out a way to make it work.
So one thing that you have to talk about while you're here is it's kind of breaking news in that there may be some outdoor dining.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Well, the city council unanimously passed an ordinance the same day they voted to reopen the mall to traffic to allow outdoor dining, including alcohol sales outside on city sidewalks or pedestrian malls even. So it's funny because I think that is a huge deal. Maybe right below opening the mall to traffic is is letting us do outdoor dining and make it fairly easy and inexpensive to do. So it's an over-the-counter process. We just went in today with another of our neighbors, Los Panchos downtown, and we both went in to apply, and they weren't quite ready for us, but they said they would be in a day or two. So if you follow us online, you're going to see. Hopefully we will be able to put on Facebook a very positive story with a quick result. But if it's not, I'm going to post that too, because this is something we really need to get with. The rest of the world enjoys outdoor dining, and we've always made it kind of a hassle. So it's a great thing. The mayor, city manager, everyone said, this is something we can do. It doesn't cost the city money. Let's make Fresno a fun place to live. And if you've traveled at all, Fresno has some of the best summer evenings. And even on the mall, we have a little bit more breeze because we have that kind of air tunnel that goes through there.
So basically, outdoors in front of your shop, on the side.
Yeah, 49 people. I can sit outside around the olive tree that's out there. Got a little fountain that's out there as part of the mall's art. And you'll be able to sit out there with a glass of wine or a good craft beer and have some dinner with your friends or Sunday brunch, and that really, it does three really important things that people might not think about. One is it really makes it better for restaurants in terms of their business model, because you get more tables, but you're not paying more rent. So it's like expanding for free. The other is that it makes downtown feel much safer, because you have people on every block, and instead of walking into this dead mall, you can see people, and the people draw people. And so the third part is it's kind of a really good advertising. So when you drive down Colorado Boulevard in Pasadena and you see a bunch of people laughing and having fun out front, your car kind of stops and you go in there. So it really works.
You mentioned something that made me smile, because I know a lot of people that love to people watch, and
yes.
So I guarantee you're going to get people eating their dinner slowly and people watching out there.
And we have some great people watching on the Fulton Mall. You will never be disappointed in the characters that we have to watch.
So last time you were on, your market was just in the process of getting developed. Now, based on all of this delicious stuff that's sitting in front of me, I think it's open. What do you think?
Yeah, well, this is what we're proud of, is we're proud of our local food growers and our food makers. That's why we started the Fresno Food Expo a few years ago at the city. So this is this beautiful basket, but it's only beautiful because it has all local products. We have a 100% local wine list because we're proud of the local wines that we make. This is really fun. It's called Old Fig. And the vines are right in Old Fig Garden, and it's the smallest bonded winery in our area. Engelman Cellars, another Fresno State grad. But we've got all kinds of award winners. We've got local honey. We've got Balakian Farms. She has her product in Williams-Sonoma and all these high-end places, and she's right from here. Enzo Olive Oil, a father and son that make these beeswax candles, goat milk soap.
Interesting. Goat milk soap.
Even a local author that's a retired school teacher who writes books about local products like figs and pomegranates and raisins that she used to teach her students about what a wonderful place we live in. And now she is doing that. But there's also something else that I'd like people to know about, and that is the new cottage food law.
Okay.
It used to be that if you made cookies like this, you would have to have a commercial kitchen to do it.
Okay.
They passed a law unanimously in California that now you can get licensed and cook out of your home. So, you can't do meat and you can't do some other things, but things like cookies, like this pomegranate syrup back here on your side, or not pomegranate, persimmon syrup, you can make that in your home and you can get your business going up to the point.
Out of your own home?
Yes. They come and inspect your kitchen. You can now legally sell it in Peeves. So we can help launch all of these startup companies here that hopefully grow into the next Reese Foods or Wawona, Farms or these other places. they can all have a leg up by people supporting these local businesses.
That is an interesting law because a lot of times people will be intimidated, not only because they think that it's tough to get started, but if they have to go rent a place
Oh,
and then update the kitchen.
how many cookies do you have to sell to do all that?
But this way, there are ways to do it out of their own home, which I think a lot of people are going to utilize.
It's all about local, and we should be leading the world in local. I mean, we grow more stuff. We have 150 food manufacturing companies in the city limits of Fresno, let alone the whole Central Valley.
Could you imagine the county? That's incredible.
Yeah, and the region beyond that. So it all starts at home.
As far as price, now when I talk to people about buying local, they always say, well, the local stuff is a little more expensive than the stuff I can go and get at the discount store. Talk about that a little bit, and why is it important for us
Yeah, so how important is it for your neighbor to have a job, right? What's the trade-off with that? So if you spend a little bit more, and it's not always more, but say it is a little bit more, but it keeps your neighbor or your neighbor's kid or nephew employed because they work at one of the companies around here, then that has to have a value in our equation too. And we can all complain about unemployment and what the government ought to do, but here's something that we can do too. We can support these local companies. Someday maybe you go to Walmart or Costco, but sometimes you come over and you put some of your discretionary money into the local businesses as well. It doesn't have to be 100%, but the more that you start supporting the local, the more that they're going to grow. They're going to pay into the tax base for police and parks and schools. Local companies put so much more of their like foundation giving into the local area. So we don't always have to send every dollar that we make into
Somewhere else.
Arkansas or Atlanta or wherever.
I'm going to ask you a very hard question.
Uh-oh.
Very hard. In the restaurant, what's the best-selling meal that you've served?
Well, I know event-wise, our two big events that we've done were we do movie nights on Saturday night, and they draw pretty well. One was Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
I saw that on my Facebook
Yeah.
page, by the way.
And we did rabbit stew because there's a funny scene with rabbits in there, and we had a line out the door. And then recently we just showed Pulp Fiction, and we did a steak sandwich that was themed to the movie, and that was probably big. But whenever we do something like lamb or duck, something unusual, unique, that's what people go crazy for.
But what is Peeves known for? I mean, if I go into Peeves and I get a burger or something, what is that something that Peeves is known for?
Well, it's going to be local ingredients, really. So we're going to get the meat locally. The bun is going to be made locally. The cheese that we stuff it with will be Bravo Farms cheese or something like that. So really it's about being local. It's about being made from scratch. So we're not getting patties that are already formed and frozen in a box like a whole bunch of other places.
But the ground beef made into a patty.
Yeah, we make it just like your parents used to make in your house. So it's even when you have a big meal like that, it feels good because it's not loaded with preservatives and salted, over-salted, and all of that. It's going to be fresh, local, seasonal food. Menu changes every day. So you have to be a little adventurous because it might be Cambodian food one day and Armenian food the next day and ribs the next day. So you kind of have to either come in with an open mind or check real closely on Facebook so that you aren't surprised.
How are prices in comparison to restaurants when I go out to dinner? I mean,
It's low.
are the prices comparable to some of the other places?
I don't think we have an entree over $18 ever, and that's like duck or lamb. I mean, we are really low, but we're in an area that we're kind of pioneer. We're the only place open on the mall at night, so we know that we have to really go the extra distance to lure people in. So you get a really good value. On the other hand, it's not a real fancy place. So even though you're getting lamb or duck, it's casual, it's pub style, you order at the bar, it's just real friendly environment too. So The thing I didn't like about farm-to-table food is every place I saw that did it, the portions got really small and the prices got really big. And I said, I think we're going to go the other way. Let's show that you can have local food and make it accessible, but a guy driving in from Kerman isn't going to have to stop at Taco Bell on the way back home because he's still hungry.
I want to talk about lunch, and we're running out of time, but you know, I work in downtown, and sometimes I need a place where I can get in and get out because, you know, a lot of workers get an hour lunch, but sometimes we're so busy that, you know what, half hour, 45 minutes. How fast is the food from Peeves, and can we call it in?
Yeah, you can definitely call it in. We try to be less than 10 minutes on getting the food to you, and I think we hit that most of the time. We've been really working on that consistency and quality. And the other is that we have grab and go now. We make some fantastic salads.
Grab and go at Peeves, incredible.
Yeah, you can go into the market and we've got these salads that are, you know, really good size, but it's all local lettuces and greens and house-made croutons and house-made dressings. So, you know, you're getting really good stuff even though you're grabbing and running it back to your desk and eating while you're working on the computer or something.
So we've probably made a lot of people hungry with this
Including me. How about you?
I'm hungry as well. I'm going to stop
This
in
basket isn't going to look very good in a few minutes after the show.
How can people find out more information about the menu, about getting in touch with you?
You know, our website is just about to launch, so it'll be www.peevespub.com, or you can go Facebook, or you can call us at, it's the easiest number in the world, 573-5735.
573-5735. You've made things easy for us.
I try to make it as easy as possible.
Craig, it's always a pleasure to have you on the program, and every time I have you on, you talk about new, exciting things.
Well, it's an exciting time right now. The next 2.5 years are going to be really fascinating, and I hope everyone pays really close attention.
Congratulations to everything that you've been doing and you've accomplished, and you know, downtown is moving.
Thank you. Thanks for your support.
That's all for this edition of San Joaquin Spotlight. To the volunteer crew that made this and every production possible, thank you. Thank you to our guest, Craig Scharton, for coming on and talking to us about Peeves, a local place here in downtown on the mall. Thank you to our audience members listening to us on 90.7 FM KFSR Fresno, and those watching us on CMAC, Comcast 93, AT&T 99. Tune in next week for a new edition.